Hi everyone, welcome to the follow-up Q&A session live from Google London. I'm Pete Taylorson, the CCO of Optimum ROI, and on my right is Jordan Pellant, the team lead for travel for Trustpilot. As promised, we have a follow-up Q&A to answer any questions that have arisen from our webinar last week, and we've had a good feedback. But if you're watching this live, if you have any questions, please leave a comment in the side chat, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as we can. So the first question that came through in the feedback forms was to do with the buy cycle, and the question said that Trustpilot mentioned that 26 days is the average length of time for searching prior to booking. And the question was, is this to do with the whole buy cycle that was mentioned, including the dreaming, planning and booking phase, or is this one set is just the booking phase? And the answer is that is just the booking phase. That is from the decision that the destination and the choice of sort of dates of flight and dates and kind of hotel they're looking for. That is that's the length of time it takes. The dreaming phase and the planning, certainly the dreaming phase, but the planning phase can take any amount of time. This could have been something you've seen when you were younger, and that also leads to kind of a lot of relevance to the booking phase as the best sort of chance to maximize your ROI, or not maximize your ROI, but to kind of manage it in the best way. Because certainly in the dreaming phase, if you're looking to get that emotional response, you might create it but then not get the booking, so you might not get ROI from your spend, which is why so many tourism boards do take that on without looking at ROI. They just want to drive that. But yeah, so that there is the booking cycle. Is there anything to add?
I guess it kind of goes back to the point we were making before about it's whether it's been a short journey or a long journey, getting to the point where they want to book, or they're interested in booking. Utilizing some of the systems we spoke about in the last session will help you take those really interested, passionate people and convert them through your funnel and get them to eventually be customers.
Yeah. So. And then just adding to that, but I mean, obviously their search patterns for the booking phase and for the planning phase and dreaming phase, they're also in there. That lands every time that data set is available every time someone lands on a website, regardless of what phase they're in. So it all contributes to your holistic strategy. So question 2 is we work really hard on our customer service and post sales, but if we do make mistakes and only arrive at a 4-star score, what impact does that have on stats you've shared in the original webinar? So obviously this is for Trustpilot here.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, as part of some of the stats we shared in the last session, we also did some testing around the impact of 4-star versus 5-star. And actually, it is a really minor difference in terms of impact. We saw around 3%. So just to remind you of the stat, it was 87% of consumers trust the brand more when they're showcasing a 5-star reputation. If it's 4-star, it's 84%. So the actual impact is minimal. And really, I think a lot of people in travel just want to see that you're putting the effort in to collect that feedback. You're being open and transparent about that, and you're showcasing the content. I think the content and the placement within the buying cycle is really what's important, not so much the score.
Good stuff. All right, and question 3 again, I think this is for Trustpilot. In the wider travel space, how do the governing bodies react to travel industry reviews?
Sure. So interestingly enough, just after our webinar last week, ABTA released some information around consumers and trying to avoid travel fraud. And one of the major things that they noted was that reviews are incredibly important to getting past fraudulent businesses. Now, I think traditionally when you think about travel, you think about reviews as being a review of the hotel you're staying at, or of the resort you're staying at, or the attraction you're going to. What they mentioned was looking at the service feedback of the businesses who are supplying those bits of your holiday. So ensuring that you're not only getting a good kind of product feedback, but understanding from a supplier perspective what type of feedback they're receiving. So kind of goes back to the points we were making last week about collecting this feedback is not just important to getting more people through, but to building online trust in your business.
So question 4 is to do with phone manner. And this came through asking, you mentioned attribution on telephone and phone manner being an important driver of recurring customers. My business takes still about 80% of bookings on the phone. What is the optimum solution for calls? This is it's a good question. This is something that is huge for the travel industry, because the travel industry, there's a huge number of companies that rely sometimes exclusively on their phone calls as their source of sales. There's a multitude of things to work with that. Obviously, people's plans aren't always finalized, so being able to help them work through it is a good way of converting the sale. But also, in terms of being that sort of, I guess, online travel agent, or a travel agent who can help customers, it really improves your chance of recurring customers down the road, rebooking with you without an acquisition cost. So that's something that, if you can get that right, it's a real strength. On our side, we would suggest that, there's a lot of available technology out there. Certainly Google has very good call revenue tracking systems in place to kind of help you kind of see where that's coming. There's also some really good softwares, for call tracking, CRM, things like Infinity or ResponseTap. There's a lot out there. We would suggest using that in conjunction with Google's existing analytics setup, putting it through analytics, and then that converts through to a very strong, your bidding system, which obviously Optimum ROI has a strong solution for. But yeah, it's that sort of call approach is to kind of make sure that your CRM and your analytics and your bidding strategy is aligned, and probably use the tools that sort of match for that. And then question 5. Thanks for the webinar. I learned a lot. One question. I searched Trailfinders, which was one of our examples, in Google, and noticed that Facebook review of the company is coming before the Trustpilot reviews. The rating is 3.5 of 21 votes. I feel first impression is a good impression to the users. My question is, will that Facebook review affect company ROI? And I'll hand over to Jordan for this one.
It's a really good question, and it's something that we hear a lot, not just within travel, but widely across all of the kind of industries we work within. And actually, the short answer is no, it doesn't affect ROI. And the reason behind that is, and actually, in this case, I did a bit of digging and found the mass majority of people typing in that search are going through to Trustpilot as their form of kind of social proofing or understanding that business's quality, especially when it comes to customer excellence. And I guess that comes back to the point that we made in the previous webinar, which is around Trustpilot's position as a brand here in the UK and throughout Europe. It's becoming a place where people are synonymous with going to find open, transparent feedback. And the counterpoint on this one is also, for the Facebook, I think you mentioned there was 20, in the mid-range of 20 votes on there. On Trustpilot, there's kind of closer to 12,000. So users are now experienced enough to understand that the majority of places with a high number of reviews is often a more representative view of that business. So in closing, I think it's obviously important to collect reviews holistically. Trustpilot has the option for you to aggregate your reviews to Facebook. And you have the ability to turn Facebook reviews off. So it's really up to you as a business about how you want to manage it. But to go back to your question and answer it in short, no, it doesn't affect the ROI we mentioned in the last webinar.
Okay, thanks for that. And so I guess the final question we've had, and it seems that we haven't had too many questions coming through live, so we'll just answer this. The main question is will the data from all the findings that was presented in our presentations be available? And the answer is yes. There'll be a link on this YouTube channel showing you how you can get access to that data for whatever your business purposes are. And in the absence of any questions live, I think we'll call that there. But yeah, thank you very much. Our next webinar will be we'll be sending out details of that for next month. We'll be doing it with a company called PPC Protect, and that'll be on quantifying your traffic, or qualifying your traffic. Apologies. Thanks very much.
Thank you.